One day, I decided that I wanted to play through Kanto again. Unfortunately, I didn't own red, blue, yellow, fire red, or leaf green, but I did own a Game Boy Advance SP. Since there isn't a GameStop or anything near where I live, my only choice was to look at the local pawn shop. Luckily, they had leaf green. I bought it, and as soon as I got home, I put it in my Game Boy and started playing. It didn't have a save file, so I had to start a new game. Everything was normal until I battled my rival. I defeated him, and all he said was, ... Then it went back to the overworld. Yet again he said, ... And the screen flashed back for a moment and he disappeared. Kind of like after you defeat red in gold, silver and crystal. I finally got to Pewter City, where I could battle Brock, the first gym leader. After I defeated him, the same thing happened with him. Then a question mark popped up above my character. Then a text box popped up saying, "Found the boulder badge and TM laying on the ground. Red," which is who I named my character, "obtained the boulder badge and TM." So I continued onto the next route. The thing I mentioned earlier about Brock disappearing was happening to trainers I battled too, except I just picked up their money. As I walked down the route, some old man ran up to me and said, "Wherever you go, never go to Lavender Town. I heard that ghosts are possessing some of the residents and visitors here." Then he ran off. Now I've made it to Mount Moon. I ventured through until I found rocket grunts. At least, I thought that's what they were. When I battled them, their skin looked really pale, and instead of an R on their uniform, it was a Z. I was thinking, what does that stand for? It actually freaked me out a bit. Finally, I got to the super nerd. I beat him, but there were no fossils up ahead, so I just continued, finally reaching the exit. I'm now at Cerulean City, where I can battle Misty. I battled her, but after I defeated her, she said, "I've had enough of defeat." Then, in anger, she jumped into the water, and I never saw her again. I guess she drowned herself or something. Luckily, the badge and TM were sitting on the platform that she was standing on, so I grabbed them and ran out of the gym. I decided to go to Bill's house after this. There were no trainers on the Nugget Bridge or the route after it, which I thought was kind of strange. I still went to Bill's house. I saw him laying on the ground, kind of like the old man in Viridian City. I walked up to him and pressed A. A text box popped up and said, "You can't hear him breathe. Check for heartbeat." I said yes. There is no heartbeat. He must be dead. So I walked right out, continued to Vermilion City. When I got to Vermilion City, the SSN wasn't in the harbor. There wasn't any sailors there either. I also noticed that I didn't need cut to get to the gym. I walked in, and to my surprise, there was no trainers or electric gate. It was just Lieutenant Surge, standing in the middle of the gym. I battled him, then defeated him. But after the battle, he sent out an electrode and sat on it. He said, "I can't take this anymore. Life is horrible. Electrode, use self-destruct." And it did, killing Lieutenant Surge. The badge was on the ground, but I didn't have to take it. I eventually got to Rock Tunnel, and I couldn't wait to get out. After I managed to get out, I went straight to Lavender Town. I really didn't have any other choice. As I walked around the town, I noticed the gym leaders and trainers I battled were there, but their skin was pale, almost grey colored. As I continued walking, I noticed that they were following me. Then I used my running shoes. They were still following me. About this time, I noticed that they were zombies. I ran around town looking for an unlocked building to go in, but all the doors were locked except for two, Mr. Fuji's house and Pokemon Tower. The zombies were still following me. I quickly ran into Mr. Fuji's house. I knew I would be safe there. The house was completely empty, except there was a desk with a computer on it. Out of curiosity, I walked up to it and pressed A. This is what it said. "There's a text document. Read it." I said yes. This is what the document said. "Something has gone completely wrong here in Kanto. If anyone's reading this, run from Lavender Town right now. At this point I was pretty freaked out, so I get out of the house and run towards the nearest exit. But that exit was blocked off by a fence, so I run to the other 2 exits, but they had fences too. I had no choice but to go into Pokemon Tower. I noticed that the zombies were gone, so I ran into the tower, but soon I found out that the zombies were there, so they started chasing me. I ran upstairs to find some possessed channelers. They didn't want to battle, but they blocked the next staircase. By this time I had a Charizard. The zombies finally caught up. One walked up to me, then a battle started. The zombie didn't send out any Pokemon, so the zombies battled. I sent out Charizard. I tried to use Flamethrower, but it had the same response as a ghost in normal games. The zombie bit my Charizard. My Charizard fainted. The other only Pokemon I had were only weak HM slaves, so I knew at this point I was screwed. After the zombie knocked out all my Pokemon, I finally wired out. Instead of ending up in a Pokemon Center, I found myself on the top floor of Pokemon Tower with zombies surrounding me. I looked at my party and it had no Pokemon. Then I looked at my trainer card. Then I realized that they infected me, so now I am a zombie. I walked out of the tower and there were no more gates. I traveled all the way to Celadon City, but it was completely deserted. Then I went to Saffron City and it was completely empty as well. I walked up to the sign outside of Silphco and it said, out of business. Then I realized that this was about 20 years later and Kanto has been completely deserted. I walked to residents' houses and there were signs on the doors that said, moved to issue by force. Now I realized that the only living things in Kanto were zombies.